I feel like it's very important that we don't view DaaS exclusively as an alternative to doing a hardware refresh. And I think it's really important for an organization that is early on in the current cycle of their hardware, pre-refresh, to be thinking about what comes next, right? What comes when this current 3-year cycle, 2-year cycle, 5-year cycle, whatever it might be, what happens when we move into the next phase? Because if the answer is we're going to do another hardware refresh cycle, then sure, you can probably wait until the 11th hour to start planning that, right? But if the answer is that we want to open ourselves up to potentially looking at a different way of solving the problem, looking to potentially leverage a DaaS solution to help not just replace those devices and extend their life cycle, but also to enable us to have better security in doing so, a higher degree of mobility in doing so, better end user productivity, and a happier, better customer experience, both for your users and potentially your customers. And those simplified logistics of getting out of that hardware refresh management game, and having to provide those devices, provision those devices, procure those devices, and ultimately get them into the hands of our users, and certainly reclaim them if and when the need would arise to, if you had users leaving the organization. So I think if we wait until we're at the point of being ready to actually do a hardware refresh, I don't want to say that it's too late to start the conversation, but we're definitely starting from a worse place than we would be if we can start that conversation earlier. If I'm a customer, what that time gives me is the ability to learn more about DaaS, right? Learn more about how DaaS can help me in ways beyond just being a replacement for going out and purchasing that device. But it also gives me the opportunity to potentially look at my internal policies, my internal practices and procedures around things like, are we a BYOD shop? Can we be a bring your own device shop? And when we get to the current iteration of this hardware ending, not only extend the life cycle of the hardware that we just bought to go beyond those 3 years to maybe 5, 7, 8, but also then maybe for new employees who are coming into the organization, allowing them to actually just procure, provision, purchase, and use devices that they already have. A couple things that we want to take into consideration there, because that's usually a larger conversation than just IT internally, because there's often a security component to that, a compliance component to that, and that's something that's going to be dictated primarily, in my experience, by company policy. And having conversations about changing policy take time. The earlier we can get into having those discussions, I feel like the better for the customer to be able to open themselves up to a number of different options. So that way, when it comes to the end of that 3-year cycle, 5-year cycle, they're able to effectively look at a number of different ways of solving their challenge, as opposed to just going out and repurchasing hardware again, because that's the way we've always done it, and that's what we just did 3 years ago.